This is going to be a bit confusing, but I'll try my best to explain.
Okay. Wait, so I randomly stumbled upon Keemstars' page because I was looking at a TikTok that he made about how Def Noodles
stalking me.
is obsessed with him. Hashtag Def Noodles, and then he shows whatever. And then this says, some transgenders are mad at me, but I didn't do anything wrong. Now, this is pretty classic Keemstar to not really understand what he's talking about. But let's just see what he has to say.
This is going to be a bit confusing, but I'll try my best to explain.
Okay.
Yesterday, I put out a tweet saying if a guy...
Okay, well, if you put out a tweet yesterday, I think that I have to go... This is from 2 hours ago, so I have to go find your tweet because you forget how to act like a person half the time. I don't see a tweet. Oh, question. If you hook up with a trans woman, are you now LGBTQ? Asking for a friend. LOL, for real. Okay, so obviously this is... I believe this is supposed to be argumentative. What, dude? What is this?
But I'm feeling a little better.
Dude, what is this? James Charles? He's some F4. Dude, what?
We got some big stories.
What is Keemstars?
H2O Delirious getting banned.
All right. Anyway, let's move on from that. This is a. Anyway. Oh my god, this video is all over the place. If you hook up with a trans woman, are you now LGBTQ? Asking for a friend. LOL, for real. Now, first and foremost, we could sit down and we could have a conversation about possibly from a personal perspective how some people interpret trans people, right? So if you're somebody, like, if you might be a person that is, you might be a male, cisgender male, and you might see a very attractive trans woman and sleep with them, and you might consider yourself a little gay. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Now, that's not something that you would ever express to the trans person, right? I come from the belief that people are entitled to their own personal perspectives, beliefs, and opinions, as long as they don't exude a disrespectful nature. So if you engage with a trans woman and you think it's a kind of gay, that's fine. It's just not something that respectfully you would tell that person because it would be disrespectful, because it would be invalidating to them. Or possibly a little sus. Sure. Okay. Now, I come from the perspective that it's like kind of weird labels in general, a little bizarre. You're better off just banging who you want to bang. I think that's a great point somebody mentioned in my chat. However, this isn't really something like, if you're going to ask this question, like, you know that you're just trying to be antagonistic. So, and which is Keemstar 101. And I guess somebody responded, let's see, Jiggly Queef Syphilis. This idiot is now trying to weasel himself into the LGBTQ community for views and likes. Did Keemstar sleep with a trans person? Is that because to me it seems more like he's just trying to be argumentative. He's just trying to create controversy with the like the LGBTQ community or the trans community through like a really brain dead like comment. But anyway, let's watch this.
This is going to be a bit confusing, but I'll try my best to explain. Yesterday, I put out a tweet saying if a guy hooks up with a trans woman, is the guy now a part of the LGBTQ community?
And I mean, the answer would really be no. I don't think that they would be part of it fundamentally for sleeping with a trans person.
And you on Twitter overwhelmingly said yes. The guy is now a part of the LGBT community.
Who said that, Keemstar? Are you telling me that your followers, the people who like you, which are generally kind of dumb kids, like let's not sugarcoat this here. You're telling me dumb kids that don't understand the LGBTQ community. You're telling me that those people think that you're now LGBTQ for fucking trans person? Of course you would, and of course, okay. I'm gonna look at this off screen because there's a but here, and then most of the people are saying, "Shut the fuck up, boomer. Who the fuck cares?" Basically telling him no. Everybody's saying no. So not only are your fans a bunch of like edgelords, but they're also not even agreeing with you. So you're weird.
And you on Twitter overwhelmingly
said no.
Said yes.
Well, that's a lie, but okay.
The guy is now a part of the LGBT community because
Sure.
he's hooking up with a trans woman. However, some
Nobody said that. Like, no, I didn't see I scrolled through it. Nobody said that, Keemstar.
people from the LGBTQ responded to me saying that I was ignorant and that was offensive and that the guy would not be a part of the LGBT community because trans women are just women. So it's basically like that guy was just hooking up with a woman. So there's no difference, right? That has caused me to ask another question, okay?
Okay.
If trans women are just women, then are trans women no longer a part of the LGBT community? I mean, we're going to have to remove the T from the LGBTQ.
I mean, most people just told Keemstar to shut the fuck up. My honest advice here is like just stop engaging with Keemstar when it comes to like social issues because he's fucking dumb. Like, oh, trans women, like, I understand what he's saying. He feels like he hit you with a gotcha. And that's why I said it's really about your personal experience. You know, you might perceive a trans person as a bit like their biology, and that's okay as long as you don't express that disrespectfully. Right? And which is what Keemstar is doing. He's trying to get a rise out of LGBTQ people. The thing is, though, ideally, like the LGBT community would like to basically create that. See, the LGBT community exists to advocate for issues that are independent or specific to the people in that community. If there were no more issues in that community, such as people perceiving trans women as men to some capacity, the community would dissolve. And so you would be right. There would be no need to identify the T for trans. But since we live in a society that treats trans people differently, that does exist. So in an ideal world, what you're saying is true. Yes. Because people that are LGBTQ are saying, hey, we don't see trans women different from cisgender women. So in their idealized view, sure. However, LGBTQ is reactionary to being oppressed for somebody who identifies with that community. So of course, it would still exist. This is what we talk about when we talk about perception. This isn't really the gotcha that he thinks he hit with it. I know that Keemstar's just being a dumb fucking troll, but you know, whatever.
We're gonna have to remove it because just women are women. It's a woman. It's not a trans woman. It's a woman. But if they're not just a woman, let's say they are a trans woman. All right. That would make them a part of the LGBTQ, and anyone that hooks up with them would also make them a part of the LGBTQ, right? Do you see how confusing this is when you come at me and say women are...
It's not really that confusing, Keemstar. You're just trying to be argumentative. This is what we call a shower thought. Keemstar was in the shower, and what you have to understand is Keemstar just constantly thinks of ways to harass people. So he's in the shower, he's like, oh, if I fuck a trans woman, does that make me kind of gay? And if it doesn't make me kind of gay, doesn't that mean that trans doesn't exist? It's like, wow, Keemstar, you blew my mind with how profound you are. Jesus Christ.
Are just trans women are just women, are they? Then they're not a part of that. It's very confusing.
It's not that confusing.
Who's making the rules?
Like I said, the LGBTQ community exists as a reactionary to being oppressed historically. The goal, ideally, is for people to see trans people, like trans women, as women and in an absolute sense, and trans men as men in an absolute sense. But as a society, we're simply not there. So there's a reason that we distinguish it, because we need to distinguish it to advocate for trans rights. So in an ideal society where people didn't treat trans people differently from cis people, yes, there would be no reason to identify with the LGBTQ community because there would be no more issues that are associated with being trans. But since we live in the real world, what you're saying is emphatic garbage. I'm just letting you know. Though I don't know why I would expect Keemstar to have any depth of thought.